Hi, this is Guy Harris. Welcome to Talk Like a Leader. This week's episode is titled Getting Past Your Filters, the Halo Effect. And it's a continuation of some episodes inspired by work I read at therulesofcivilconversation.org. Now, at that website, they propose 8 rules of civil conversation. And the most recent pieces of this series, I've talked about basically filters or biases that we have, all of us have, to some degree or another, that interfere with effective leadership communication and effective communication in general, leadership or otherwise. Right now, these biases, these filters that get in our way of communication, are addressing rule number 4 of the 8 rules of civil conversation. And rule number 4 is that I will attempt to account for my biases and to be intellectually humble. And I would say that if I don't first make myself aware of my intellectual biases, I'm going to have a hard time making allowance for them or adjusting for them. So we're trying to draw attention to a few of the biases or filters that we can apply to our communication, our interpretation of others and how we engage with them. And basically thinking through, reflecting on how we can better adjust ourselves for these biases that interfere with the effectiveness of our communication, and how to be more mindful of how these might get in our way. My proposal is this: if you're aware of them and mindful of them, you can then do something about them. Now, it's probably true that we'll never be perfect at eliminating these biases from our perspective. We can be aware of them and do something about it so that hopefully we can communicate more clearly, more concisely, more effectively, and to gain better influence and impact and success as we interact with others. So let's look at the halo effect. It is that tendency we have to view everything a person does or says through the filter of how much we like or dislike them. That actually has 2 sides. The one I'm talking about today is called the halo effect, and it's the tendency we have to filter how positively we view another person's actions and communication based on how much we like them. Now, as indicated, the opposite is also true. That's sometimes called the horn effect. I've seen it referred to as the devil effect, that if we don't like someone, we also filter their communication through that lens. Now, really, 2 sides of the same coin. Comes down to this idea. We evaluate the truthfulness, the integrity, the honesty of other people in their communication based on how much we like or dislike them. We filter the accuracy of what they say, or possibly the inaccuracy of what they say or believe or how they act based on how much we like or dislike them. And while I'm not suggesting that we should inherently distrust people even though we like them, or that we should automatically believe people if we don't like them, I think it is wise to be aware of the tendency we have to assign greater merit to the messages we receive from people we like, and to discount the messages from people that maybe we don't have as fond a feeling for or don't think as highly of. So one of the things we can be careful of, and this is how it affects us as leaders, if we're not careful, we can develop favorites or possibly not favorites, people we don't like or avoid on our teams. And as a result, we can unnecessarily or inaccurately assign whether the results they're achieving or their approaches to work are good or bad based on whether we like them or don't like them. We can play favorites with our team, and because there are people with whom we have closer affiliation or have stronger relationship, we can let down our guard in terms of critically assessing what they say to see if it fits what we're trying to achieve. And I'm not trying to suggest that because what they say isn't accurate, that means that they're attempting to deceive us. That's not what I'm attempting to communicate. What I'm saying is that we have to be careful not to unduly or unfairly believe what people assert or the actions they take simply because we like them. We have to be on guard for that tendency. Likewise, we have to be on guard for immediately discounting or ignoring the input from people that maybe we don't enjoy the company of as much, or that we find frustrating in some way. And we let that personal frustration interfere with how we interpret their input. For example, let's say we're trying to implement a change with our team, and someone with whom we have a great relationship just agrees with us, buys in, and really doesn't push back on the change that much. They just decide to embrace it. We might be excited by that because, one, we want to drive the change, and two, this person's not pushing back. We like them. We take their lack of pushback as some kind of indication that they bought into the message, and we just move ahead. Likewise, there's a person on the team that maybe we've had some difficulty with, that there's some challenges in our communication with this person, and they raise an objection. And rather than honestly evaluating the objection the person raises, we immediately discount it simply because we've had communication challenges with this person in the past, simply because there's something about their approach, their communication style, how they do things that annoys or frustrates us. And because of that personal frustration, that personal irritation with this other person, we discount what they say without fairly considering if they've raised a concern or a challenge that maybe we should consider. So one of the things we have to look out for to be effective in our leadership communication is beware of the halo effect, just assuming that the people with whom we have a great relationship are competent at the things we ask them to do, or that their approach to doing things is automatically okay just because we like them. We also have to beware of immediately discounting or ignoring the input of people that we don't have a great relationship with, or not delegating tasks that might fit a person better, and we don't delegate to them because we don't like them. There's some relationship issue with them. The encouragement for this week is to remember that if we're not careful, the nature and quality of our relationship with another person, on the positive side known as the halo effect, and on the negative side often known as the horn effect, can cause us to unfairly and inaccurately judge how well the communication is going with these people, because we're viewing the communication and their actions only through the lens of how strong is our relationship with this person. To be an effective leader, we're going to have to be in relationship with people. Some people we have a great and strong relationship with, and others it's maybe a more tenuous relationship. For the good of the organization, for the good of the team, we have to be mindful that if we're not careful, how we feel about the other person can color positively or negatively how we hear and interpret their messages or their actions. So if we be mindful of both the halo and horn effect, start looking for external validation beyond just the quality of your relationship. And please, I want to make sure that this is clear. I'm not suggesting that we don't attempt to have good, positive relationships with people. Just be careful that the way you interpret things isn't only because of the nature of your relationship with them. That's my suggestion. So my encouragement for this week is this: as you engage in coaching conversations, as you make decisions about how to delegate tasks or not to delegate tasks, as you make decisions, engage with members of your team, be aware of the very normal human nature tendency to assign higher value and higher benefit to people that we like simply because we like them, and to discount the input or perspective of people that we don't necessarily like simply because we don't like them. Work to find objective measures for results, for perspectives, for inputs that factor in your relationship with the other person, and yet are not solely dependent on your relationship with the other person. If you can do that, you can be more objective in how you engage with all people, and you can talk like a leader.
This has been the Talk Like a Leader podcast. You can listen to this show every week wherever you get your podcast. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm Guy Harris, and thanks for listening.